Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of a new book that we have coming out called The Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care, 25 Tools for Goddesses. Ooh, this one is so juicy, you guys. Welcome to you, authors. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
I'm so happy to have this conversation. Okay, so I have with me Lidia Koleshnik. Did I get that right?
Perfect. Koleshnik. Yeah.
Okay,
perfect.
good.
Well done.
And she is a chronic health specialist who helps high achieving men and women resolve their chronic health conditions so they can reclaim their health, regain their energy, and refine their power. Lolita Guerin is a stress management expert and author that helps transform stress into self-love. I have Nancy Stevens with me. She is a lifestyle specialist and co-founder of Uplift Clean Beauty, a clean vegan skincare line for women. And Stephanie is a love expert, coach, and author whose passion is empowering women on dating, relationships, breakups, being successful, happily single, and most importantly, developing genuine self-love. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to ask you guys these questions and get this conversation rolling. Before we get started, let me just say a big thank you to Anna Pereira, the founder of the Wellness Universe and the lead author for this entire book series that we've been working on. Anna, we would not be here without your love and support and guidance. Thank you so much for your vision for this book and for everything that you do for us. So, Lidia, let's start this party with you. Tell me about this amazing chapter that you wrote.
Well, first, it's an honor and pleasure to be part of this incredible book with all these amazing authors. I'm chapter 15, Reclaim Your Health, How to Never Be Tired Again. And I share my story of healing my own chronic health conditions that I had from birth. And through that incredible journey, I developed a deep relationship with myself where I began to understand that if I wanted to heal and maintain my health and go forward and live the life that I wanted, that I needed strong, stable core energy. So through my personal experience, and then through 25 years of coaching clients, I developed the tool that I talk about in my chapter. I call it the capacity principle. Know your limit, live within it. And it's a very simple, effective tool that teaches us how to tune into your energy during the day so you don't get depleted and fundamentally get drained, which can lead to chronic health conditions. And so when I work with clients, there's 4 questions that I ask them, but I start with identifying what I call your key flashing red light indicators, very much like the dashboard of your car has flashing red lights that tell you that your engine light or your brake light or your engine light is on to communicate with you that something is out of balance. So so that's a way to manage your energy. And with the capacity principle, what we're doing is we're preventing depletion and then strengthening the core energy so that we have strong, stable energy and ultimately a limitless life.
I would imagine you come across a lot of goddesses who learn that the hard way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, myself.
Yes. So like, when we can actually see those lights before we need them, of course, is the key. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, sure. So in my 25 years of coaching clients with chronic health conditions, I learned that the process of healing was more than just cellular. It was relationship with self. And so the more we can tune into our own cues, then the easier it is for us to balance ourselves. And so by asking some simple questions like, what do I say when I feel at my limit or when I'm not feeling centered. And then what do I feel mentally, physically, emotionally? Then we can tune into our own unique indicators and then immediately balance ourselves so we don't have to go to the point of severe exhaustion and depletion. And that was my goal. After 30 years, I was born with illness, and then it was a 30-year journey to fully heal. I vowed I would never be dependent or sick or tired again. So that's how, and a lot of the clients that I work with who want to achieve their soul mission in life want that strong, stable energy. And so tuning into how to balance yourselves is so critical.
Thank you, Lidia. I just want to say a quick thank you to all of you. I say this in every project and every interview, and to all of you individually now. Thank you so much, not just for saying yes to this, but for stepping up to share that vulnerable story that you did. You all took that and just bravely put those stories out there. But these books are more than that. They move into a practical tool that the reader can practice. And it's one thing because y'all are master teachers. So you sit and you can guide people all day long. You show them what to do, you verbalize it, but to write that in a book in a way that people actually feel that experience is badass, y'all. So you need to be proud of yourselves for stepping up to do that so brilliantly. Lolita, talk to us about your amazing chapter.
So first of all, again, thank you so much for allowing me to be the part of this amazing project. I'm very honored. And I wrote a chapter 10. It's called Let Go of the Hot Coal. And I'm just giving a little glimpse in that chapter of how that felt when I grew up with having my father being an alcoholic. And obviously that caused me childhood trauma. So later when I had issues with my health due to stress, I became a stress management coach and expert by now. And I later realized that how you manage stress and how you take stress in your life really also depends what that stress was caused. So I realized that there are a lot of things that caused by childhood trauma. And so in my chapter, I am giving a very simple to implement tools, how you can help to forgive others for the childhood trauma that was imposed to you. And most of all, how can you forgive yourself as a child of that kind of trauma when you think, oh, how could this happen to me? And I think forgiveness kind of goes through everything in our lives. It doesn't have to be forgiveness for your parent. It could be for anyone, somebody who cut you off in traffic, right? What is that you do? And I think forgiveness is the first step, how you can manage your stress in any situation, because it all depends how you look at the situation, how you label that situation, and then you're more empowered to deal with that.
Themes pop up in healing in general, and forgiveness has always been one of them. Forgiveness will come up again and again as we need to hear it, and as we need to just take another step toward it. Right? Why do you think that one thing seems so, daunting sometimes?
I think because we all take things so personally. And in a way, that's the way to take things personally, because we feel only ourselves. We think only ourselves. And then we think if somebody do something, we take it so personally, thinking, well, they did this to us. Like, for example, in my story, in my chapter, I share that I don't think that my dad ever woke up in the morning and he thought, hey, you know what? I feel like I'm going to hurt my wife and my kid today. Obviously not. So when we realize that another person comes to any situation from their own traumas, there's something happening to them, right? And then we realize, well, if we will be in their shoes, maybe we'll understand them better. So if we will just take off that label and take so much everything personally, I think it will be so much easier to forgive yourself and others.
That is a really, really good point. And it's a little bit easier said than done sometimes when you're sort of in the middle of it. I'm going to ask you all a question a little bit later about awareness, because if you don't have awareness, you aren't able to understand these things at this next level that's really going to help your transformation, right? So yeah, it's a beautiful way that you help us with our awareness of the forgiveness. A different way to think about something can make a huge difference in your life. Now, Lolita, you did that with forgiveness, so thank you. So let's move to you, Nancy. Tell me about your amazing chapter.
Thank you. My chapter is chapter 19. The title is Healthy, Vibrant Goddess, and the subtitle is A Sacred Daily Guide. When I saw the author call for this book, I instantly my radar was in tune. I'm like, ooh, this one sounds just amazing. And before I even knew anything, I quickly wrote my tool. I did the tool first. So my chapter kind of mirrors my own story in life of feeling always having a really overactive, super busy life. And what happens when you are constantly on going and doing, well, then you get burnt out because you don't have the structure to support the constant doing. And that was my story. It was a paper bag blowing in the wind of whatever was needed, when it was needed, how. And I didn't power up my inner goddess. So I became really interested in what kind of ritual or routine can I do that just nourishes and feeds myself. And this became the foundation and the essence of regaining my goddess center, no matter how busy and overextended I got. I was able to always use this and have this. So that is the basis of my chapter, my tool, and my story of finding and creating a really beautiful personal, guide or ritual or routine, or whatever we want to call that you're bringing yourself into your day or ending your day caring for yourself first. That will counter daily life stressors. The expected and unexpected come up. And my story kind of focuses, it's a little present story of, we had a huge travel journey this summer, and I had all the best intentions. My tool, I knew that I needed it. I loved it. And in and on its own, with the busyness of our travels, lots of parts of my routine completely fell off. And then I was like, wow, I'm feeling ungoddess-like. So I was able to slowly, with an experience I shared in my chapter, reclaim and step into my daily goddess routine that brought me back into being a goddess, a woman.
You've written about self-care so beautifully, I might add, in at least one other book, if not all of the books.
Yeah, it was the very first one.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's what I thought, the stress relief book.
Yep.
And I think what you're making me think about is that serving from an overflow is always the better idea. And I think the older and wiser I've become, the more I realize that has to be first. This thing you're talking about has to be first. It just has to, it has to become a deal breaker almost within yourself. I feel passionate about this. What else do you want to talk about there?
Well, I agree. Like I said, anytime I've gotten carried away in the busyness of life with work obligations, deadlines, quotas, events just landing in my lap, when I have deprioritized my own self-care, things just don't go well. You get the insomnia, physical and emotional issues seem to take front and center. So I think what I learned anew this summer, which is probably why it began to bubble up, was it's fine to be busy. That's life happens. But within the context, we need to embrace and lovingly care for ourselves with compassion, with physical, emotional things that, like you said, that are non-negotiable, that balance ourselves as a counter against the expected and unexpected of doing life with our careers, our families, friends, or whatnot. It just is like a non-negotiable piece. And I think it's one that I think we can all agree that each and every one of us here today, and all the other authors really need to have this foundation set into place so that we can be our amazing goddess selves.
Definitely. Thank you for that. I think that Nancy said expected and unexpected. And you ladies know when it's that week and you're doing pretty good, but then the unexpected thing comes and it just shoves you over the edge of being able to cope. And I think that's where my own personal self-care routine comes in. I know I'm doing really well when it's the unexpected things that come and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling good. Like I can deal with this. I can cope with this week. Right. And I don't know, I get pat myself on the back when I have a good week like that.
Yes, I definitely agree. It's just how I do life and what I am passionate about teaching other women to do that are not, that are in process of becoming.
Yes. Okay, so Stephanie, tell us about your amazing chapter.
Hi, I am chapter 2. My chapter is called A Self-Love Revolution, A Path to the Best Relationship You've Ever Had. And I talk about one of the tools to self-love, which is dealing with your past traumas through writing a letter. And the letter isn't necessarily meant for you to send. The letter is meant for you to let go of the power you have given that person who is causing the trauma in your life. You're releasing that power from them.
Tell us more than that, my dear. Oh my gosh. So y'all know I'm a journaling fan, and the letter writing thing is really profound. Tell us more about why it is.
Well, I talk about my mom, which is a very hard topic. I was adopted, so she is the woman that raised me. She's my mother. And we had a very strained relationship. And throughout that, through various things she has said and done, I've kept this internal flame of that I was not good enough. And it got to be a point where I released that internal flame by writing to her. And when I wrote as if I wasn't gonna send the letter. I wrote to get everything out, all my pain, all my fears, all of my doubt and insecurity that I was holding inside of me, because I let my mother have that power. I gave it to her. And so through writing this letter, it helped me to release my fears, my anxiety, my self-doubt, my insecurities. I call it like a exorcism that's really good, because it releases all that toxicity that's inside of us.
Yeah, y'all have heard me say I write to feng shui my soul first as the priority. And some letters are therapeutic letters. They're just for you. They're very selfishly to release. So I love the way that you talk about that. I think sometimes when you say letter, people have a freak out moment because they're like, oh, that means somebody's got to read it. Well, no, it doesn't. But if you're writing the letter to somebody and there's emotion and meaning and maybe baggage that gets unloaded, then it feels so much lighter, right?
Yes, and I also talk about how a letter can be, whether you send it, whether you burn it, whether you tear it up or keep it, regardless of what you do with this letter, you are releasing that energy, which is so important for anybody to move on, to really embrace that self-love that they deserve.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So you all are having a little taste of what's inside of this book. Our 25 tools for goddesses. I am thinking a little bit about some of the moments where I started to use the word itself, goddess, like that language, and talking about my fellow goddesses like that, thinking of myself like that. So I have a question a little bit about that for all of you. I'm going to start with Lolita for this one. Okay. So finding that, I call it my goddess voice, was about sharing things I thought others might have some criticism about. it was about sharing, even though I was afraid of what they might think, right? I call that kind of fear purpose-driven fear, because it has to do with something I was born to do. So the fear goes with that feeling, right? That's what is goddess about it to me. So Lolita, what I want to know is, did you have any resistance to sharing your goddess stories and voice at first, and why or why not?
I think that we all are very beautiful on our own. And if we think that we are less, that comes from having a low self-esteem or thinking I am not enough, which I had problems with a lot. Then when we think about God or goddess, that there's something special about them, right? Like they are above us, they have superpowers, they're so amazing. And then when they realize we all are amazing, we all are the part of God that creates the universe and all there is. So we're the only one. And by default, we are God. And we're women in this group, so we goddesses. And then when I realized that I need to shine my light so others will allow themselves to be that light as well, we just can light up all the world and bring this, all of those people who think low self-esteem about themselves, to remind them that they're amazing and there's nothing, you don't have to be so special. You can just be yourself and bring your light into the world. So when I read about this project, I had no hesitation about putting a label on me. I said, yeah, I'm sure, of course I'm God. Of course I'm goddess, because I'm the only one, like as all of you are. And I had no problem of thinking, yeah, I should be in this chapter because everybody should know this.
I love that. I love that you guys just claim that too. It's brilliant. Yeah, you said something that I think about a lot. When we do that, we give others permission to do that. And that is incredibly powerful, empowering. Yes, thank you, Lolita. That's beautiful. Okay, Nancy, what do you want to add about that for you? Did you have any resistance to sharing those stories at first? Why or why not?
Well, let's see, because my tool came to me quickly and I had the tool done first, I had to backtrack and come up with, well, what am I going to share? I'm not going to share my whole journey, but what can I share that is relevant to my tool, which is, taking time daily in self-care. So I guess I had to go on this long journey this summer, because that became the events that unrolled for me emotionally and physically, and that became my story. And it was, the timing couldn't have been perfect, because had I been asked to, let's say I signed up for this project in June, I don't know what I would have written about, but because we were asked to submit and complete our story September, October, or even I guess October, I had my story. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to talk about what happened to me. So I would say yes and no. I initially would have struggled, like, I don't know, but it just, everything rolled out as it was meant to be. And I did have to I was asked to dig a little bit deeper and share more intimate areas that would flourish my story, which was good for me, because sometimes for me, I want to give the details, but the emotional part, that's my journey of really sharing how I physically and emotionally felt when I had the moment of opening that I was okay where I was at, honoring what I needed at that point to use part of my routine and what was okay to not use. So that's how my story unrolled.
Yes, I did challenge you, didn't I? I remember that.
Yep.
I read through your stories, and of course you've heard me coach you all in terms of when it's more personal, it's more universal. Yet we do have, and I know I have had some resistance to what is too, the TMI, the too personal. And I really think that the more that I move through that, as long as I'm not hurting anyone and I can tell my truth, then that's the priority for me, because I keep myself, you know, at another higher vibration by prioritizing my own healing first. And just, you know, shouting out to all of you for doing this piece so brilliantly. It's not always easy. So I love that you all are up for that challenge and open to figuring out, you know, another way to maybe write that story or tell the story, show us the scene, all the things that, you know, we talk about in terms of the writing. So Stephanie, how about you? When you were thinking about sharing the story, was there resistance to sharing this goddess voice of yours? Why or why not?
There was. I'm used to coaching women, and one of the things that I coach about is dealing with our past. However, I had dealt with my past, I thought, but when I meditated and I prayed and I talked to you, I realized I had not dealt with my past 100%. And talking about my mother was very hard because she did raise me. And as children, we don't ever want to talk bad about our parents or hurt our parents. We try to put them in a box, even if they've hurt us in any sort of way. And so for me, being able to touch into that space of it's okay to recognize your traumas through childhood, recognizing also that my mother did the best she could with what she had. However, it still affected me. So to be able to share that with readers out there was huge for me, because I really emphasize that with all of my clients. And I do believe being vulnerable makes us even more powerful.
Yes. Oh my goodness. There's absolutely no doubt in that for me. No matter how hard that feeling is, I believe that that is the truth, that our strength lies in our ability to be right there. Again, I was talking with Lolita, it's so that you can give other people permission to be vulnerable. There's such profound healing in that. And I agree with you too. Everyone had the childhood, we've all had experiences. Mom and dad and whoever else was raising us, they did the best they could with what they had at the time. And coming around to that in forgiveness, like we've talked about, and awareness, that piece is the game changer, I believe. So I'm always really happy to hear your process, all of you. And I want listeners to understand the process too, even if it's just from a journaling aspect, because you all are another level of brave. You're published. And that's taking it up a notch. But even just letting words flow, shifting your energy, moving those stories out of you onto the page. And I always tell people, hey, you can burn that later. You don't want anyone to read it. It's really more about the process of the shift. So yeah. Okay, so Lidia, what do you want to add to this? Did you have some resistance? How was that for you?
Actually, no, I had no resistance. I I love talking about the feminine power, and I only touch on it in my chapter, but the feminine is part of the yin yang energy, and it's in everything. And so the goddess power is the feminine power that is part of the essence of life itself. And I really connected with all of that at a very young age. I'm still evolving and learning and growing, but I guess because I was so ill when I was born and when I was young, I had to develop that what I call Taoist non-attachment, where I had to honor myself. At the age of 10, I would have died. And I had to let go of what other people thought of me and what I was doing. And I had to find my own solutions. So, it was an initiation into a greater state of wholeness, but by embracing nature and the feel of the wind against my cheek and animals and all of that. So I loved writing my chapter. And I felt I could write a whole book about it. So
well, you know, that's my ulterior motive for all of you. You all have amazing whole multiple books in you. I know it. Okay, you just said something that I'm writing down that I loved. You said it was an initiation into a greater state of wholeness. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, there's a whole 2 books on that one.
Yes.
But I always, when I was young, I was conscious that I wanted to be whole and free. And being chronically ill with chronic pain and not being able to be diagnosed, in family that tried, but just didn't understand, and doctors didn't understand. It was very confining. And I say to myself, I didn't come to the planet to be half alive. I came to the planet to have a full experience as a spiritual being in a material form and dynamic. And so we are always being initiated into various states of wholeness, and all healing really is just return to wholeness, right? So through forgiveness and gratitude and letting go and awareness and deeper knowing of self, I believe we're already whole. And then we have these aspects of self that we somehow need to remember through trauma or experiences or pain or suffering. And then we return. Those are the gateways, with the initiation back into wholeness.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, these topics, y'all, I mean, they're big, right? We could take any one of these things and we could go all day on these. They're big, profound kinds of topics, but that's what we're here to help people with, is just have those conversations. Okay, so Nancy, I'm starting with you on this next question. I'm going to come around to all of you with this one. Healers like to talk about themselves as guides or facilitators. And actually, for some of the reasons Lidia was just talking about, it's an internal process coming back to that wholeness, right? So our mission really, I believe, is to empower our clients to connect with that inner healer. So I want to know, what's one of the most important ways you empower your clients, Nancy?
I would say, let's see what's bubbling up. I would say through the work I do, I'm kind of about all things self-care. I would say for me, how I empower my clients or our clients that are purchasing our skincare is to learn to love themselves. That what I wrote about in my chapter is probably no different than any of you in your chapters. It's giving ourselves permission to lovingly accept who we are, our brilliant, beautiful talents and strengths, and our supposed flaws. I like to call them our uniquenesses and idiosyncrasies, from a place of really authentic love and compassion. Without that, I could have the best daily, my daily guide can be the best ever. But if I don't really care about or not able to love myself or learn to accept that, then it's not my daily guide or anything is going to fall by the wayside. So I believe that's my journey here on beautiful planet Earth and the universe, is as I do my work of loving myself, and that has to some daily process, then I am role modeling to women to learn to really accept and love themselves, all of themselves, the parts that are easy to say, yay, look at me, and the parts that are like, I don't want anybody to see that. It's just a beautiful journey of self-love and acceptance.
I have to shout you out, Nancy, because I have been using my bottle of Uplift since we returned home from Soul Treat, and every night, and it's become part of that routine, which I love having, right? So beautiful products and a beautiful routine, and just being able to look in the mirror and put that on my face and my neck. So I'll catch up with you later about the Uplift. I love it. Stephanie, talk to me a little bit about this. How do you empower your clients? Uh-oh. She couldn't handle the question. She left us. What happened? She got so excited. I bet she hit end instead of unmute. Okay, well, we'll come back to Stephanie when she comes back in the room. Lidia, you're next on that one.
Yeah, sure. Well, I like to remind clients that their chronic health condition is their gateway to their lasting empowerment. And that's what happened to me. And even though you may have a very serious diagnosis, and I often work with clients with a few months to live or a year to live, and many of them do phenomenally well and go on to heal and live a great life, that you have this great opportunity to do deep healing with the goal of resolving your diagnosis in some way, shape, or form. But in that journey, you will really have an opportunity to know thyself. And when one knows thyself, thou shalt know the universe, right? That's one of the classic statements. And then in a world of expansiveness and security and inner strength and knowing is birthed from this journey of deep healing to resolve something that we didn't want and that seemed to be a burden, but now it's become our greatest gift and we turn lead into gold.
Wow, I would say that that's pretty profoundly empowering there. I think ultimately when you can, I said something earlier about perspective and you just made me remember it again. Like when you can change your idea about what's possible, that's what you're making me think of. Everything can change from there, even a terminal diagnosis.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to say about that?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I've been working with clients for 25 years with terminal diagnoses. And not all my clients have that, but I specialize in that. And where there's a will, there's a way. And whether it's through the approach that I offer, and I may just coach clients on their healing journey, or whether we actually do what I specialize in, Reiki and macrobiotics, you have your own unique path for your healing, and you know what's best for you. And it's not to say that someone isn't meant to transition and birth into the spirit world, and I support them if they want to do that. Absolutely, that's their journey, and I'm here to support whatever their journey is. But the possibilities already exist. The choices are there. And my teacher in macrobiotics, Michio Kushi, he often used to say, you have to have the mind sometimes of Sherlock Holmes to find the solution just for you.
Nice. Thank you, Lidia. Stephanie, we're so glad you're back with us.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. We're coming back to you now with that question. And that is, how are you empowering your clients these days?
Well, on my website, my slogan is empowering women to find love. And most importantly, it's navigating love. And oftentimes we forget that love does start with ourselves. It's a cliche word, but it's what I believe in. How can you expect somebody to love you if you don't know how to love yourself? And when we master how to love ourselves, we can actually master our lives and navigate our lives more successfully. And one of the biggest things that I teach my clients is that when you're in a relationship, you don't want to lose yourself in the process. Oftentimes we lose ourselves in the process when, again, we don't know what we want. We don't know what makes us happy. We don't understand our happiness meter. And therefore we let people come into our lives that dim that meter for us.
It's interesting. I had a moment just now. You know how self-love can be a hot topic sometimes, and we see it and hear it everywhere. So sometimes we hear it for the millionth time and we're like, oh yeah, self-love, right? I mean, we know that this is important, but I had a moment just now listening to you talk about it. And it is about the fact that when you master that for yourself, the rest is easy. It's our self-love that is the black belt level, so to speak, right? And so when we can get that down, then I feel like I could do that so much easier with everyone else. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. Very cool. Okay, Lolita, on this empowerment question, how do you empower your clients?
The way I see myself is as a way shower. Because if I start thinking of myself as a healer, that somehow in my mind gives me the idea that I'm somehow better than others. Of course, in order to teach others, you need to be at least one step ahead of them. But I want to show and inspire them by the way I live, and so they could see that it's possible for them too. When I deal with my clients, I mostly see that many come to me and the way they think about themselves is like they are so damaged, there is no way they can heal and they can accept themselves and love themselves the way they think it's impossible. And I want to show them that, hey, look, I've been there too, and it looks impossible, but you can be if you really want to. Another way I always tell myself, I can share the information, I can show what I'm doing, and then maybe can inspire them. And I love the saying that you can take the horse to the river, but you cannot make him drink it. And so the way I see, I am that, a horse whisperer, just tell them, come here, here's the river. You see, it's possible for you, you can do this. But if they choose not to do it, and as Lidia said, where there is a will, there is a way, and it's okay. I also need to forgive them and honor their choice, because you cannot force somebody to be happy or healthy for you, no matter how much you love it. And not goes only for clients, but especially for the family members, because if somebody is terminally ill, you can tell them, eat this, do that. But if they really choose and their soul chose that suffering, the way it experienced, and they're going to transition, you should honor that too. So I see myself not as a healer, but as a way shower. In showing, hey, this is possible for you. If you want, you can both go and drink from the river.
I love the way that you talk about that. Yes, I think facilitator, guide, there are a lot of words. It's funny because healers don't always identify with the word healer, but I believe the definition includes the way that they show people, to the river. I think that's a perfect way of saying it. Okay, amazing ladies. I have one more question for you. So this is going to be the speed dating version of this one, okay? And you're going to want to give me like 10 different ways you do this, but I'm going to challenge you to just give me the one. Stephanie, we're going to start with you on this next one. So I live by this quote, with awareness, you get a choice. Awareness is the key to healing, I believe, and I feel lucky to have had a life dedicated to it. But I want people who haven't to benefit also. And so I'd love it if you would share one thing that helps us understand your personal practice of awareness. What does it look like on the day-to-day for you?
Awareness for me is recognizing when something is not right or wrong. I call it the red flags out there that so often I feel it here deep in my chest. It's like a heavy feeling. And so when I feel this pressure, I know that that's not okay, or that's not right for me. And so with my clients, I teach them, where do you feel awareness in your body? Where do you feel that feeling that something is not okay, not right, or versus something that is amazingly great, right? You get tingles down your arms, or you just feel so alive by this experience or a situation that's occurring. And once you can fully become aware, there's like magnitudes of how you can walk your journey in life more successfully.
I love it. Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Lidia, what's your version of this for your awareness practice?
Me personally, you mean? That's not.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, very similar to what Stephanie said, when I was talking about my capacity principles, those flashing red light indicators, to not judge what I'm feeling and what I'm sensing, but to just honor it for the sake of awareness that leads to relationship with self. To not say, oh, one of my flashing red light indicators is my kidneys get tight. I have weak kidneys. So not to judge that, and I don't have to analyze it. I can just say, oh, my kidneys are feeling tight. I have awareness that now I've reached my limit or my capacity, and to just accept. So awareness, acceptance, and action, right, are the 3 A's of all change fundamentally. So that's how I do it for myself. And then it also supports clients.
I love the 3 A's. That's a new triple A for me. I love it.
Well, I came up with it years ago when I was young and I was healing. And I thought, how have I transformed myself? And I came up with awareness, acceptance, and action. And then I found out it's very commonly used in self-development and I guess 12-step programs. So universal consciousness, right?
Exactly. Awesome, Lydia. Thank you. Lolita, how about yours?
Well, you said pick one, so I'll pick only one. I try again, like Lydia said, stop the judging. And in every situation, I first be aware that that's happening and am I judging or not? And I always remind myself that we are the ones who put the label onto what we're seeing, and then we can handle it the way we perceive things. So I always tell myself, just because it's something different, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just different. And if you don't assign the different as being wrong and bad, and of course there's like violence and other things that you think, no, that's not for me and I don't want to see this, I want to change this. But there's so much of stress that we impose on ourselves in the little life situations that really make no difference in 5 years and in 5 minutes. It's always just catch yourself and think, is it really worth stressing out about that? No, stop judging others and yourself. They're doing the best they can.
Nice, Lolita. Thank you. Powerful. Okay, Nancy, you are going to close out the show today. What is your version of this?
My version would be for me to, upon waking, I set the intention of grounding and centering myself in the energy that starts my day when I move from my bed out into the space of my home. I ground and center physically by hydrating with water to clear the stuff from the night before. Then with intention, I step out onto my back deck, or if it's really cold, I'll look out my window and bring myself into the element of nature. It's very powerful to me. When I've skipped my daily practice of intentionally grounding and centering into the energy of that day, it seems that I go through the day unattached. So this is a very, very important element of me, intentionally grounding and centering myself each day so that I give myself permission to be in that day, and then I know who I am and where I am to counter whatever that day is going to bring.
Thank you, Nancy.
Welcome.
For me, most days, it's just a deeper breath, and it's about gratitude. And when I have those things in my awareness throughout the day, you know, it's a really, really good thing just to add my little 2 cents in there. Authors, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's an honor and pleasure.
Listeners, please remember to join us for our live stream book launch party, December 7th, 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm going to be gathering with all of the Wellness Universe Guide to Complete Self-Care authors, 25 tools for goddesses. We're going to be on Anna Pereira's Circles of Inspiration page, live streaming. And we're going to have some really cool giveaways that day. So calendar that. And if you're listening after that date of December 7th, well, that means you need to get to Amazon and buy this goddess book because it's going to be amazing. Maybe you are a wellness practitioner who's ready to share your brave words in one of our upcoming best-selling book collaborations. Please find more at bravehealer.com. And lastly, everybody, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.
Bye.